Hi and welcome to the first ever Moto Headline show, where we're going to bring you updates of everything that's going on in the world of off-road biking. And this week we've got new bikes from Honda, from Kawasaki, from KTM, Husky and more. Obviously we've got the AMA Supercross finale, and we talked to the man who's used to racing at 300 kilometers an hour on the road. Well, now he's really having fun on the dirt. Hi, welcome to the Moto Headline show. I'm Adam Duckworth, editor of MotoHead. And of course this week we have to start with what's obviously got to be the strangest end to a championship ever. That's the AMA Supercross Series that round up in Salt Lake City this weekend. Now, of course, we all know Eli Tomac won his championship, Chase Sexton won the 250 East, and Dylan Ferrandis won the 250 West. But what a strange end to the year it's been, in a year like no other before. No spectators allowed in, guys having to have their COVID-19 tests before they're allowed in the stadium, face masks, eyeglasses. It's all been the strangest end to the season. But before we get to the racing, let's talk about practice. And one of the most unusual things I find about American racing is the way that they go out for practice and qualification, really unlike anything in professional racing anywhere else. Now in Grand Prix or British Championships, the riders slowly drift out onto the track, waved on one by one, but in AMA racing, it's almost like a race in itself. I've seen all the guys at the Nationals just ready, clutches in, and as soon as practice is allowed open, they blast out there all together. It's almost like a mini race to see who can win practice. Well, in Salt Lake City this weekend, in the 250 East qualifying, it was ridiculous. Just look at what happened when they let the guys out for practice. Yes, that's some of the big names going down. It's practice, guys. Get over it. Now in the 250 East versus West Super Finale, normally by this time you've got some clear leaders, but this year the 250 East and the 250 West titles went right down to the wire. Chase Sexton has already got a 450 Honda factory HRC contract ready for next year. He's defending champion, and he went into the last round 6 points ahead of his arch rival Shane McElrath. So with championships on the line in both 250 classes, the rule is just get through qualifying, get to that main event. Unfortunately, Chase Sexton seemed to do his very best not to do that. He was coming through the pack, got up to third place, 2 laps to go at the end of his qualifying heat, and bang, he went and landed on Colt Nichols. Nichols, that wiped him out for the main event. Luckily, Sexton wasn't injured, managed to get back on and got through to the final. In the 250 West class, it was even worse for Dylan Ferrandis. He was part of this mega, unbelievably big pile-up on the second corner. There were 280-degree corners that caused so many crashes. Be careful of them. Unfortunately, Ferrandis, he went down, got back on and came through to 10th place, so he missed qualifying. He had to go through this first ever last chance qualifier, and as it was so hot in Utah, that wasn't a really good thing to do. Of course, he won that and then went through to the final. So it was all to play for in the final. Dylan Ferrandis' arch rival was Austin Faulkner on the Pro Circuit Kawasaki, where in the 250 East class it was all between Chase Sexton and Shane McElrath. The first start was all over the place, but it was red flagged after Austin Faulkner wiped himself out big time. Luckily, he got up and managed to walk off the track eventually, but not until it was red flagged. In the restart, it meant Ferrandis just had to play it cool and get a decent position, which he did, and took the championship, and of course, being French, cried his eyes out on the podium. You gotta love the emotion of the French when they win something, so well done. It was all to play for in the East category between Sexton and McElrath. Sexton got into the lead, McElrath caught him, Sexton let him by, and it looked like there was going to be some cat and mouse. But then Sexton just cranked it open, went past, pulled away and did it in style, winning the race and taking the championship. Now in the 450 class, Eli Tomac finally took the championship. After the first corner, it was pretty much all over as Cooper Webb went down, and at that point Tomac circulated safely, took 5th place to take his first championship. And of course it was Father's Day. He's the first father ever to be a rookie champion. Seems odd calling him a rookie champion at age 28. His father was there on hand, so it was a great Father's Day gift for Eli Tomac to finally win the title, and it was well deserved. But the racing at the front was all about the Husqvarnas. Who would have thought that? And it was all about Zach Osborne, really. Now Osborne had this huge crash in practice, and even though he's been getting better and better every week and looking like he could challenge for the win after this practice crash, I wasn't even sure he was going to make the main event. It was a big one. Even Cooper Webb got collected in the crash. But come the main event, and Zach found himself up at the front with Jason Anderson after Dean Wilson. Yes, our British guy, Dean Wilson. Fantastic and so well deserved. What a great guy he is, and I so wanted him to win. However, Jason Anderson soon found his way to the front until 2 laps to go, his seat fell off. That allowed Zach Osborne to get by, hang on, and take his first ever 450 Supercross win. As an ex-British champion, Zach is a pure fan of the sport. He's done the ISDE Enduros, he's raced the British Championships, he's won Grand Prix, he's won AMA Nationals, 250 Supercross Championships, and this possibly his crowning glory, to win a 450 main event. Well done, Zach. Jason Anderson held on for second place, and a brilliant ride for Dean Wilson, third place, only his second time ever on a 450 podium. And of course, the race also marked the end of the career of Chad Reed. Now, Chad Reed took a 10th place in the main event in his final ever Supercross race, and he was right there with Ken Roxon and with Cooper Webb. That shows the sort of speed he's got. Now, Chad wanted to end his career riding in front of loads of people, waving at the crowd and soaking up the adulation. Unfortunately, that couldn't happen. He says he won't come back next year and race any more Supercrosses, but you never know. It seems like perhaps he might just roll out for a Supercross or two just to wave goodbye to the fans properly. Okay, so it's halfway through 2020, and of course the 2021 bikes are starting to be unveiled. Now obviously not a lot of people have had a lot of use out of their 2020 bikes, and with the pandemic, with lots of things happening, factories have shut down all over the world, the chances are that the supply of 2021 bikes will not be exactly the same as it has in the past. However, first out is usually KTM and Husqvarna, and again this time they'd be one of the first companies to reveal their full range of bikes, this time in the Enduro market. Now KTM works on a 3-year production cycle, which means that for 2021, chances are all of its bikes will be similar to the 2020 range. Perhaps the biggest news about KTM's range wasn't any technical changes, it was all to do with the looks of the bikes. The standard bikes have got lots of grey on them for next year, and also there are 2 special editions. There's the 6-day editions. Of course, KTM brings out 6-day editions across its range every year with some cool aftermarket parts on and a different look. And also they brought out the Erzberg Rodeo edition, and it's called, is it gold, is it bronze? I don't know, but it's a kind of a cool looking bike, and it definitely looks different. Now they haven't changed a lot, but the looks really are different. Do you like them? Do you not like them? It's up to you. Now, of course, with KTM and Husqvarna being made in the same factory, as well as Gas of course, it's no surprise that a few days later, Husqvarna also unveiled its 2021 Enduro bikes. Now, you might think that these are, well, they're just KTMs with white plastics, but in the Enduro market, they're definitely not. The KTMs still have the linkless PDS rear suspension system, while the Husqvarnas have a linkage system, just like on the motocross range. Of course, the Husqvarna range has different components to the KTM range, which makes them different, a different back-end system as well with the one-piece airbox, and they look different. But essentially, it's largely the same technology. And you can bet when Gas wheels its 2021 bikes out very soon, they'll probably be really similar to this, except in red. Now, KTM has a history of going and buying up cool, new, up-and-coming, or maybe not that new, brands such as they bought Husaberg, they now own Gas. Obviously they've got Husqvarna. Well, perhaps the French manufacturer Sherco might be next on their target, because Sherco has unveiled a range of really revamped bikes for 2021 across its Enduro range of 2-strokes and 4-strokes. Sherco actually has 2 ranges of bikes. The first is the standard range, which is called the racing range, which is your kind of standard high-end race bikes. Then they have the factory range, which has some kind of different higher-end components on them and costs a little bit more. Across both ranges, they've got new graphics that are kind of moulded into the plastics, black seat, black frame protectors, XL rims, new grips, bigger rear brake spring, Michelin tyres now, and the racing models have the WP Explore fork, which now has a preload adjustment on it external. Now, the racing models, the factory models, these are the higher end ones. Instead of WP, they have KYB suspension. They come with a new titanium Akrapovic full exhaust on the 4-strokes, and the 2-strokes get an FMF exhaust. They've got lighter front brake disc, which is made by Galfa. They've got an AXP skid plate, a blue Sella Dalla Valle seat. In terms of technical changes, the two-strokes have a lighter engine by 1.2 kilograms. There's an anti-vibration balancer shaft. The cylinder head has slightly lower compression on it. And there's also a new ignition unit on the 250 and 300 and a tilt sensor, so the bike shuts off if you crash and it's lying on its side. The engine on the 250-300 has got a new conrod, new bottom end bearing, new crankcases, lower compression combustion chamber, and on the 300 4-stroke a new intake and exhaust camshaft profile. The 4-strokes also have a whole new load of engine changes. There's a new conrod bottom end bearing, which is now a plain bearing for 2021, replacing the old roller bearing. There's a new conrod to help reduce stalling, and that means that there's a slight change to the engine cases. The balancer shaft is smaller, reducing weight. It's fair to say these bikes have had a lot of change to them for 2021. This isn't just a quick makeover and a new set of bold new graphics. The same can't be said really for Honda, that's unveiled all its 2021 models apart from the CRF 450. So, the 250 and 250RX are unchanged from last year. That's not a big problem. The bike was really good last year. It was hugely improved, but it would have been nice to have seen something, maybe some bold new graphics. But no, the bikes stay the same for 2021, which if you bought a 2020, that's no bad thing. Your bike's still current. Honda also unveiled some cool looking new monkey bikes, the CRF 125, CRF 110 tradie bikes, and also the CRF 250F, which unfortunately doesn't come to the UK, but is available in America. Of course, what's missing from this picture is the new CRF 450R, the all new race bike as raced by Tim Geiser in the first 2 rounds of the World Championship this year. What we know about this bike is it is completely new. It has a new frame, it has largely a new engine, although it's still based on the same design as the old engine. It is completely new. Now Honda loves mass centralisation. One of the reasons the HRC and Honda went for a twin exhaust. But for 2021, that's going to be a single exhaust out of the one side of the bike. The bodywork's all new, and we really can't wait until this bike gets wheeled out in production form, which should be very soon. Also unveiling its new bikes in the youth range was Kawasaki. Now, so many people started their championships, started their careers racing Kawasaki mini bikes, and the KX85 and 65 have been wheeled out for 2021, and unfortunately there aren't any big changes, just some bold new graphics. And these bikes are pretty good. The 85 had a makeover not too long ago, and they're straight up decent bikes. Now still on bikes, Rieju, the Spanish manufacturer. Now they're known for making pretty inexpensive, low-budget trail bikes. However, Rieju now owns the rights to build Gas. So Gas, the factory, was sold to KTM, but Rieju retained the rights, or bought the rights, to make Gas's old range of bikes under its own name. So the new Rieju 300, that's the first one to wheel out on the production line, 300cc 2-stroke, enduro racing bike. It looks really sweet, and essentially what you're buying is a Gas, but a little bit cheaper money. It's pretty damn good value. So the MR300 Racing is the first one, and actually has, compared to the Gas, it's got new radiators, a new starter system and a new battery. And the price is $6,995 including VAT. The motor is the same, 55 horsepower, 2-stroke, single cylinder liquid cooled, engine from the Gas, and it's got KYB suspension and Nissin brakes. So if you were paid to be a professional road racer racing at over 300 kilometers an hour in the World Championship, you might think you'd kind of hit the pinnacle. However, most of these road racers love a bit of dirt bike riding, and that's definitely the case for the guy from Kent, Jake Dixon. Okay, he doesn't live there anymore, but that's where he's from, and he's best pals with MotoHead's chief tester, Dave Willett. Now, he asked Dave what bike should he buy for having fun on the dirt, and Dave, being Mr. Two-Stroke, said it's got to be a 2-stroke. So Jake's bought a Wiser 250, and the pair of them have been having a little bit of fun on the dirt and having a bit of fun in between the motos. Let's check it out.
The front's absolutely pumping like this, and got the rear pumping on the rear, and it's so much. I feel sorry for my crew chief.
Rev it, double clutch it, chicken wing it.
Yeah, that's you, son.
You know.
Absolutely chicken wing.
Hi, my name's Jake Dixon and I ride for the Petronas Sprinter Moto2 racing team in the World Championship. We're here today riding at a local track. I've come down to ride with Dave, obviously a good friend of mine for years now. But yeah, it's part of my physical training, doing a bit of motocross. I do a bit of everything with regards to supermoto, trials, everything. I like to even ride push bikes just for all physical training. I like to cover all aspects. So yeah, it's really, really good.
So if you want to check out Jake's take on his YZ250, go to our YouTube channel, link is up there, and check out what he has to say and see him in action. So it's time for our quick news roundup, and of course nothing is ever complete without a talk of COVID-19, the dreaded coronavirus that's hit everything, including our sport, so badly. And yes, there's been lots of things cancelled. Now for all you guys of a certain age, like me, the Vets Nations at Farley Castle is one of the biggest meetings of the year. Lots of riders, lots of old faces, lots of great bikes, and unfortunately it's been cancelled for this year, but we'll run next year in September 11th and 12th, 2021. That means you've got plenty of time to actually get your bike ready, and of course the Vets Nations is all about having lots of fun, a beer tent with loads of people, thousands of spectators, and there's no way that the organisers could ever have done anything to do with social distancing to keep that event running. It's a sad day, but let's make 2021 an unbelievable event. There's lots of other casualties. The NEC Bike Show's been called off, as has the World Sidecar Cross Championship and the World Junior Championship. And now we hear the British Masters Series is off as well. However, once COVID has relaxed a little bit, there will be a one weekend event with winners of the pro classes getting their pickup trucks, just like this year. There has been some sad news about Golding Barn, one of the best known tracks in the country that's been around for years. Unfortunately, it won't be a full-time practice track anymore, but it will still be open for KTM experience days and some private hires. But it's a sad day when one of the best tracks, the best known tracks, can't afford to keep running anymore. Now, if you're interested in saving money, and let's face it, who isn't, Suzuki, KTM and Husqvarna have all got mega deals on at the moment. Suzuki's offering £1,000 off its 2020 RMZ 450 and 250, and KTM and Husky are pretty much offering £1,000 off their whole range of 2020 enduro and motocross bikes, apart from some of the youth bikes, which actually have decent discounts anyway. If you want to grab a new bike, it looks like now might be a great time to do it. Now in racing news, KTM has just signed Rene Hofer for another 2 years. Now Hofer, he's an Austrian. KTM love to have Austrian riders. They've not really had a top Austrian rider since Heinz Kindergartner back in the mid-80s, and the chance to sign an Austrian to head up and potentially be a world champion is something they just couldn't miss up on. Hofer's doing really well this year so far, and you've got to think in future he's got to be a potential world champion. However, KTM's other up-and-coming star, Jorge Prado, the 250 world champion, the guy who looked to absolutely smash it in the 450 class this year, unfortunately smashed himself up before the season and broke his femur while practicing with Tony Caroli at Tony's track in near Rome. Now he came back from that, he wasn't quite ready for the opening GP, but he rode it anyway. Well, now he's broken his collarbone. Unfortunately, that's needed surgery, but he will be back for when GP racing restarts. Who knows when that really is going to happen. So in product news, Alpine Stars is really into the protection racket. See, Italian protection racket. See what I did there? They've launched their new 2021 range this week of boots and helmets and shoulder pads, knee pads, all that sort of stuff. Now the news is the new SM5 helmet, which is a slightly lower spec than their more expensive helmets, but comes in at a decent price point. And also the new Tech 10, the one that actually has got air channeled all around the feet. Looks great if you're riding in hot weather like this, and of course in British winters when you're riding through puddles and slop, I'm sure they'll be perfectly up to that as well. Alpine Stars have launched lots of new colourways on all their boots for their kids. They've launched a new range of kids boots. Alpine Stars make really good kit and are known for their boots. They're some of the best on the market. Take a look at them. And finally, it looks like KTM and pretty soon Husqvarna afterwards will be announcing their brand new 2021 model motocross bikes any day now, possibly today. We'll keep you up to date with that on the MotoHead social media channels, but until then we've had a little sneak peek at what, well, we heard could potentially be the 2021 Jason Anderson replica straight from Salt Lake City. Either that or they're all going to come with a nice free jar of Loctite. So that's it for Moto Headlines. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. it.